and I want to turn it on. All right, we're good.
Okay, you see here is the little bitty seed.
Yes, sir.
That is what is planted, and that seed right there, as small as it is, when it's planted, it grows as a stalk like corn. So if you saw a field of broom corn, you would think it was corn until it got to where that this was in the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And all on here was just jillions of seed. And so that's what you do. You can take a curry comb or anything and comb the seed off, or industrials had a de-seeder, and you took it and laid it down on there, and it was revolving fingers, and it sucked the seed off of it. So that's how that it's actually planted, grown, harvested, and dried, and then sorted out.
Can it be harvested anywhere?
Yes, broom corn has been grown all over the United States.
Okay.
The last of the large fields and whatever was in the Midwest. Now, earlier in the days, Arcola, Illinois is what they call the broom capital of the world. That's where so much of it took place, and where so much of the broom corn was actually grown. And so then, as time went along, then this is very labor intensive. In order to raise this, the harvesting is what's so aggravating. Then, of course, it left here and went to Mexico. And in Mexico, I don't know whether they double crop it or not. I have never heard. But they've got all the sun down there, and they can dry it quicker than you can up here, and that's what we run into in the United States here is what we raise. We've got a situation of getting it dried up, you know. So what you do with us is we just take it to a barn and put it on drying racks, and that way we can dry it in there. And so that's how the process goes to actually come from a seed all the way up to the finished broom corn. What we do is what we raise and the dyed broom corn, we make sure that we've got it pulled back down to 10%. If you don't, it's going to mold and mildew. So that's how dry. That's how we judge it, is with a moisture meter, and we know that it comes down.
So
there.
this we're using today is from the United States, or?
No, this is from Mexico.
From Mexico.
Because it is so labor intensive that very little is grown in the United States anymore. It all comes out of Mexico, and we don't even raise even an acre ourselves because, just like I said, it's very labor intensive to try to harvest the stuff.
Yeah.
And we can't make enough brooms, much less raise broom corn. My little joke is I'd rather pick up cans on the side of the road and buy broom corn than I had to raise it, because it's be a whole lot easier.
I imagine. Well, let's get started.
Okay, so what we have is, in order to use our broom corn, we have got to put it in water to soften the stems. So we take our water that we have heated cracking it to a boiling point. We take our broom corn and we just put it down in
Put
there.
it down in there, just so.
Now, what we're going to do for the school up here is we're going to take white vinegar. White vinegar is going to help us to keep it from molding and mildewing. So we just give us some vinegar. You can use Clorox on regular broom corn, but you can't use Clorox on your dyed broom
On the
corn.
dyed, yeah.
So that's the reason I just use white vinegar all the time. It don't have near the smell, whatever. So we've got to give this just a few minutes to soak the hot water up. As we start with our wire over here, the wire that I use all the time is actually electric fence wire. It's 17 gauge galvanized steel wire. The reason I use galvanized wire is the fact of a tinned product will rust. Galvanized is not going to rust unless it's injured and knocks the galvanized off of it. So another thing about 17 gauge wire compared to regular broom wire, which is 18.5 gauge, the 18.5 gauge is a lot harder on your hands because it's so much. So what we do is we go through our hole there and tie it off. Then we start with our kicker and we start and bring the wire around. I like to give us about 2 to 3 rounds every time I get to the wood, and that way I get a little more bite in the wood.
You adjusted the tension on it?
I adjusted the tension there because what happens is once it sits in this rainy weather, it has a little bit of effect on there because what is in here, as you can see, is a piece of leather. So that leather draws moisture or it don't have moisture. This is probably, since it was as hot as it is, hot as the water was, it's probably ready. We're making a whisk broom here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just about half my broom horn. What I do is we're about 3/4 or an inch from the end if we have to drill a hole. They put them about 3/4 at the factory if you buy the handle. Then what I want to do is have me at least an inch or to 1.5 inches up here. This is what I'm doing with it is I'm bumping it down to get all my ends about right. When I go on here, what I want to do is pull it under the wire to get it started. This is a slick broom handle, and if you don't push down on it, it's going to walk backwards with you.
Okay.
So now you're going to take it between your fingers and your thumb, and like you said, you're going to fan it out. So you take your thumbs and push down on the broom corn as you turn the handle. You're taking these fingers and you can tell how thick this is, whether it's thin, thick, whatever. And you can tell how much. Now, the thing about it is knowing how much to have to go all the way around is just something that comes with practice and time. But we want it to come all the way around and come back to our wire right here. At that time, we want to get rid of our bad hair day here. So we'll take either you can use these leather straps that I have made, or you can use Velcro. And so we go around here, do this little number, and then slide it out. Then we're going to kind of pull this down to where that it'll stay in place. Now, everything that I work with brooms, I like to work in threes, and that way everybody can remember 3, 3, 3. So as we do a regular sweeping broom, we do 16, 18, and 20. That's 3 steps. Every time we roll wire, we want to roll at least 3 rounds. Now, this is a knockdown hammer. And the way it's made is we're going to take this hammer and we're going to bump it as we turn it. Now, normally I take a caliper to where I could show you and measure right here. And then once I make a round and knocking it down, I'd show you that it's smaller now because I knocked it down. So what we want to do is we want to slowly turn and take this and we're hammering on the wire. Now, if you look at it right here,
I see it's going in.
that's it. So that's what the deal is. That's the reason you want to do that. And so you need to have, just like I said, about 3 rounds. Wire is cheap, but when you've got a broom coming apart, then you've got egg on your face, and it's a whole lot harder to clean up than buying a little more wire. Then we take our next section, and we always judge it from this end. We don't worry about this end because part of this is going to cut off. We like to leave our broom corn all
About
even,
the same.
where we not going to cut off nothing but just some wild hair. That's going to make our broom sweep so much better because it's a soft broom. So we take it, and being we've got this little groove in here, we want to bend this broom corn. So we take 2 thumbs and sit in there, and we bend the broom corn up. That helps it sit down in that groove. If we didn't, it would lay on flat, and it wouldn't wind near as tight. So we've got our broom corn bent, and then we start going around. As we start going around, we're trying to keep all of this in line with our handle. And so that's the reason them fingers are in up under there. And so we're going to measure it out and bring it on around and have enough to meet. Now, if you had too much, you can always overlap, but remember you need to feather it out as you go around there. You won't have a hump because you've got 2 layers there. Once we do that, then we can get ready to get our comb, no more than a piece of wood, drilled a few holes, drove a few nails. And the reason that we want to comb it out is when we get ready to sew, if we've got a jumbled up mess down in there, then it's hard to put the needle through, plus the fact it's a knotty broom. So now we have got this combed out a little bit. We're going to put our Velcro to hold it in place. We're going to take this out. And then we will start, and if you'll just, you want to get everything in line with that handle. So if you'll just, what I call wring its neck, if you'll just reach right there with all your might and grab it and give it that, it helps it settle down to itself. So then we want to start again with our hammer. Now we're going this 3 rounds, and what I like to do about this, you see how it's brought it down in there?
Yeah.
Okay. What I like to do about this is do 3, step up, 3, step up. We're fixing to do that, and we're going to show. So I like to start right here where I come out. And that way I drive this. In order to help stabilize it, you can turn the top of this hammer like this, and driving that one a whole lot better. Now, you notice I drove it all the way down and that locked my wire. So I'm in good shape. What I gotta do is I've gotta have a little bit of slack in order to do my step up. So I'm gonna get me about a half a round. This is the only time in making a broom that you back up. Never let your wire get loose, never. But I locked it in with that nail. So you put your hand right here and roll yourself back. Okay, now I've got, and I could turn it loose because I drove that nail down. Now, one thing you don't want to do is you keep on driving and flatten this out because you'll have a flat place on your broom. So what you do is you pull this up, and this is the only thing that makes it a little bit tougher on a lady is the fact that keeping that thumb in there, and I don't know of any other way of doing it. But what you can do is take your thumb and put it right down there. Pull this wire over and then start rolling, holding down with your thumb, and get it on around there, and we're gonna see what it does when it comes back up now. Now see, there's where I put my thumb and held it. Now the only other alternative that I could give you, and I usually tell the ladies that, what you could do is pull this over and take you a long nail and drive it right here. And then do your roll. You wouldn't have to worry about your thumb. Do your roll around and then pull your nail out when you got it done. The only thing it's going to do now is it will come up here and have a sharp turn instead of a gradual. Right. So then we're going to start the same old story with taking the knot down. Now, these nails are broom nails, and if you'll notice, the head is a lot bigger than what you're going to find in a hardware store. If you don't have a big head, I'm fixing to show you why you want one. So, we do the same thing, come around, back up a little bit, stick that old fat thumb in there, and get around. And at the same time, you need to be pulling on this to make these stay straight because that wire is pushing this broom corn that way. Now, we're going to take our nail. And we're going to drive the nail in almost all the way. And then, here is the little secret to the fact that you come over with it, and then you hold down real tight, and you roll back. You roll back in order to hold this wire tight and come around here. Now, one round only, because if you try to put two there, you drive up the nail, it's going to squirt it out. Okay, put that one in there. Now, we are not going to cut this wire, because if we cut this wire, then there's going to be a little tip that's going to stick up and scratch whoever's handling it. So what we're going to do is we just take this wire and break it off. Now it's broke in under this handle. I mean in under this nail. So there we are. Now, the next verse to it is the ending. And the ending is, I've got to get over here just a little bit, and I want to be at least a 1/4 of an inch above my last wire. Now, it is, I have found it, and most everybody else does too, it works a whole lot better if you'll start cutting and just cut down just a little bit and mark it all the way around. If you try to sit here and saw this thing off right here, you're gonna have jaywalkers down through here. So you take it and you turn it and you mark it. You're just pushing straight down on your knife. Now the reason I said straight down is what I'm fixing to show you. Now, this is loose broom corn. This is tight broom corn. Naturally born, as you cut, it's going to try to push your knife up here. So as you set your knife down, you're going to minute degrees like that. That keeps you cutting into the hard stuff. The next thing is you're going to run yourself off over here. So minutely, you're going to get just a little bit here. I'm exaggerating right now, but that's what it is. It'll help you about having this straight down and looking good. To lean it out just a little and come around just a little. You see you can stick your fingernail down in there now? So that's what the deal is. Now, we all know that if we got ready to break a stick, we could take our knife and scar it, and that's where it would break better. So we don't want to keep on cutting when we get down here low and scar up our handle too much. You're going to touch it. It ain't going to be where that you
just don't want to cut into it.
You just want to go and keep on sawing. Because I'm going to show you about this knife right here. It's the grandest little thing that I've found in all these 53 years is how it cuts and whatever. So we've got it cut off, and now one last time we're going to comb it. The reason we're going to comb it now is you can see we're getting the shorties out of it. Anything, I want them shorties on my floor and not on that customer's floor. So I've got it combed out, because you combing it out now, and then once this dries enough to sew it, then it's not holding, you're not holding it in here to where you can comb it out real good.
Right.
So now it's ready to just stick in the press and sew it up. So then you can bump that and it'll slide right out. All right. Now, do you see where it's in pretty fair shape?
Yeah.
All right. Now then, once this dries, then we can take our, and I said once it dries, because if you try to do this with it wet, it's going to clog up here. So just a plain old Dremel tool, and we're going to sit here and we're going to knock this down, because these things are going to turn up a little bit more as they dry, and they stick your finger just like a splinter does, you know. So we're going to do this number here, and if we was to made a mess up, we can always reach right down in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gets that, and then we go over here and we start with our sewing process. When we get ready to sew, then in order to hold our broom together after it's dry, you leave it like that and give it time to dry.
How long does it usually take to dry?
Okay, what I normally do is I build this broom and I put it up in the rafters and whatever, and I sew it in 2 days. My philosophy is I don't like to sew up a wet broom because I've closed up moisture inside of here.
Right.
But I put a lot of white vinegar on it. The next verse is if you was to ever have a broom that has a little bit of powdered mold or something showing up, then brush it out and take Febreze, and soak that baby. Hold that thing up there and just soak her down, and then hang it out in sunshine and let it dry, and that'll solve your problem. But normally, the white vinegar does the job. But like I said, I really do like for them to dry, and if we can't keep up with them, then we put our brooms in our dehumidifier room and pull the moisture down to where we can stick right there and say 10%, you know. So, but in this classes here, we're gonna have to go ahead and sew it up, but we're gonna have an understanding when we sew it up that you're gonna watch it. And if you can, leave it in the sunshine, and if you can't, well, really watch it close, you know.
Yeah.
Because once and what we're doing, the reason I got this rubber band out is what we're actually doing is, in order to put it in the press, is we take this rubber band and put it around here, and that way it ain't flared out. We judge the width of our broom as we're sewing it, not the fact of having to try to gather the mother up while we're in the press, okay? But that's the process, and I can show you other ways of doing the wire and whatever, but this style broom is called an Appalachian style, or an A style broom. If you've done it different and turned broom corn the other ways, it would be a shoulder broom like you see a lot of the old folks made. And that's the way I learned, was a shoulder broom. Takes a lot longer, it's a lot more frustrating for a beginner to try to learn to put shoulders on one when you can see how easy it is right here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all for right now.
Okay.